All right, YouTube, welcome to the KarQ Archive channel. My name is KarQ. On the main channel, you might have seen just the side-by-side comparison of the patch changes, but again, on this channel, I speak more succinctly on my thoughts on the patch. I'll skip like the dev comments and just give you the KarQ comments. So, mid-season 12, September 17th, 2024, obviously the World of Warcraft skins. My opinion on this, because this is my opinion channel, is I think these skins are hot ass. I don't play WoW. Again, I only play old school RuneScape. Old school RuneScape shouted out. Dude, last video, I shouted out when I mentioned the World of Warcraft collab MMO stuff. I said I only play OSRS. I'm an Iron Man and I've been starting to get into raids, and if you want to raid, let me know. And people actually responded. I ran some Theater of Blood. If you also want to run some raids, join my Discord in the RuneScape channel. Say hi. General updates. Roll queue mystery heroes. Yo, so for the people who want the shapeshifter title and like mystery heroes, I actually think this is awesome. Having mystery heroes in the unranked menu will probably help the queue times a lot. And it's like a bit more fixed. If you only like support but like to roll random supports, it'll be nicer to have a limited mystery heroes. Not true random. Some people really like the true chaos, but I think this is a decent change. And I might actually queue this when I'm bored, so I like that. Deathmatch, I don't give a shit. It's moved into the arcade menu, very nice. Competitive drives. So if you don't want to read this whole bundle of text, basically it's just a cosmetic. We can put it up on the screen right now. We have a picture of it. This is going to be near the end of the season. There'll be like a weekend limited time event where if you play enough games and get enough points, you earn these little name tag cosmetics, which will stay until the rank reset, which happens every 6 months. And my opinion on this is I think they look really cool. I just wish these were available all year, like as a reward for competitive, and then these LTMs are there to kind of you know, add a little modifier and make it a different color or something. But I think the cosmetic itself looks really cool, and I understand why they're doing it, because it's a retention strategy. Every live service game near the end of every season, people stop playing, whether it's Valorant, Apex, or whatever. I've done it for other games. End of TFT sets, I just stop playing because I'm bored. I hit my goals, finish my battle pass or whatever. This is just a way for people to just log in and start playing a little bit more, which is cool concept. Cosmetics, I just wish were available overall. Does that make sense? That's my opinion on it, but I don't mind this. Very cool. Next, patch note stuff. Armor flat damage reduction decreased from 10 to 7 per impact. So this is the middle ground, like they said earlier. It used to be 5 per impact. They buffed it to 10 in mid-season 11, then they put it back down to 7. We have a full spreadsheet with damage graphs made by Cactus Puppy. Here is we will link this in the description. But these are the changes to armor only. There's a whole like nerd stuff here. If you like spreadsheets and you know, being a nerd, it tells you which heroes are good, which heroes are bad, who got impacted the most. And it seems like the biggest change are the ones highlighted here. So it would be D.Va's booster impact, which is pretty marginal because it's a small cooldown. I'm trying to find people whose damage instances are around the 7, 8, 9, 10, because those are the ones affected, the lower instances of damage. Probably someone like Orisa's primary fire, Fusion Driver, right? Fusion Driver headshot, 18%. Yep, there it is. Bob's arm cannon specifically in that sweet spot. Bastion's recon form bullet is a low instance of damage, so 20% better now. Echo's tri-shot. Echo's focusing beam. Oh, sorry, these are the sticky bomb explosions, not focusing beam, because beam is a beam. Genji Shuriken, this is actually a buff. He's going to get 17% stronger against armored targets, which is kind of nice. Pharah's concussive is whatever. Sojourn's primary fire shot, headshot specifically, because the railgun the primary before was already at 9. At 7, it would still be less than half, or whatever. That one's a big one. Soldier's heavy pulse rifle. Soldier gets a nice little buff here. And Torp turret, Venture's clobbers, whatever, Widows, whatever. Baptiste's primary fire gets a buff now. It's small 25 per bullet. Armor doesn't reduce it as much. Lucio, Sonic Amplifier, headshot, and Barbie Blaster for Mercy. Okay, so those are the big ones. Anyways, full thing linked in the description. Tank roll passive, knockback resistance reduced from 40% to 25%. So obviously with D.Va Juno's speed ring being a thing last patch, everybody was, you know, getting rushed down by that. And honestly, knockbacks didn't do much because like the D.Va would just get slightly inconvenienced, but still be able to reach her target. Now that she doesn't get knocked back as much, Lucio boop, maybe Zen kick, Brig whip shot, those can actually boop them back a little bit more, which should help peel because tanks were very strong ever since mid-season 11. Makes it a bit more reasonable, and I think that's okay. D.Va getting a interesting nerf. They actually said she wasn't overperforming stats-wise, but everybody was complaining about D.Va, probably because of that specific Juno D.Va combo, and feeling like you have to like go through her very hard. I think statistically she wasn't doing very well because it's very easy for D.Vas to do nothing. It's very easy to see your team D.Va just like feel like she's not impactful because she's not making the right space. It's still frustrating to play against Matrix and having so much armor, but she wasn't very good, and it's a big skill issue, a big gap there. High level divas were getting a lot of value, but around that average mid ranks, I assume she probably was just performing normally. But yeah, so they're nerfing. They changed her armor. They reduced 550 of the armor, and then gave her 25 more white health. So in total, she lost 25 HP net and 25 armor. And then obviously armor was even better before. So armor was nerfed and she lost 25 HP and she lost armor. So this is a double nerf to D.Va there specifically. And then they said they'll keep an eye on how this plays out and adjust as necessary. I think this is a pretty decent nerf. I still think D.Va's pretty strong simply because of that micro missile burst and everything. And that D.Va Juno speed ring thing that I mentioned, not in this section, it's actually down here as a bug fix. They said, fix an issue with D.Va's boosters movement speed stacking multiplicatively with speed boosting abilities. Now, I did test this on the main channel video. We can even throw it up on the screen here as well. It kind of looks the same. Like when I did because we recorded these separately, the eye test when I did them, and I was like, oh, it does feel slower. But then I turned around and I'm like, I feel like the distance traveled is the same at the end of it. So I'm not sure why, but the eye test was like, oh yeah, it's nerfed. And then when I put them side by side, when I edited it together, I was like, what the? It's weird how it plays out versus what it is on paper. So I still think that combo is viable. I don't think it's going anywhere. D.Va's not as good. So like D.Va, maybe like Juno plus another brawl hero a tank could start rising in the meta. Probably Ramattra. And the reason why I say Ramattra is because Ramatra's armor bug was not listed in the patch notes and fixed on this version of the game. Maybe another like hot fix patch coming out, but I didn't see no fix with Brig and Rem with the armor bug, which has been going around, popularized by someone in our community as well. Shout out to Patrick. He's got a whole spreadsheet showing what happens with armor right now. He was actually in our Discord like when the patch dropped and said, hey, by the way, this is not fixed. Haha. Let me show you actually. So I think we used the Cassidy Deadeye patch note for that. Wait, so it is fixed? But I think we just tested it 2 hours ago, unless it got like repushed. Okay, the one who discovered it or popularized it was Patrick and made the whole workshop for it. So Patrick has also just double checked it here on his.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't look like it because it's supposed to, so armor is supposed to be -7, right? On the new armor. So instead of 19 damage, it's doing 12. That's correct. Correct. But now it only does 6 damage, which means it's not reducing it correctly because that's the new refreshed armor. So it's reducing not 7, it's reducing 13 damage right here. So we should definitely flag that for the designer because it's not in this version of the game. And it wasn't listed in the patch notes, so I don't think it made it to this build, is what I assume. I assume it's fixed at some point, but not in this build. So this is today, 3 hours ago. Soldier's bullets only do 13, or is getting reduced by like 70% instead of like it only getting flat -7, which is why I'm saying I think Ramattra will be your brawl choice, because Ramattra has the same thing because he gains armor, additional armor with this thing, so he's extra durable against certain heroes. With D.Va being nerfed today, I think Winston's good, and I think Ramattra might be the sleeper pick, because him and Brig are the biggest culprits of having this extra durability thanks to armor. Soldier sucks against it because look at that. You literally do no damage against that. And heroes like Sojourn's Primary Fire do nothing against it. So there you go. Orisa, a small buff for Orisa. Movement speed penalty reduced from 20% to 10% when she presses Fortify. I don't think Orisa does have a lot of armor, which obviously makes her good against, you know, some of those heroes without the bugs, even so. But I don't actually think she'll be a top priority pick for a tank. She's actually okay. She's like a little like average-ish. I don't think Orisa will be hard meta, but I think she's like pretty average. Like she's acceptable as your brawl tank right now. I think she's actually not as bad as people would make her out to be. At least at the high levels. Oops. She's probably still pretty annoying and definitely playable around most ranks. So yeah, she's fine with this. Roadhog, I still think is pretty bad, even though they helped his resource regeneration rate. He's been underperforming according to their dev comments. I don't see why you would pick Roadhog when this meta is still with Juno still being very good, speeding people up and going fast. So Not much implication here despite this Roadhog buff. Sigma has actually a couple of buffs here. Number one thing I want to point out, Hyperspheres. Impact damage is -10, explosion damage is +10. If you're hitting a single target, you will notice no difference here if you're hitting directs. This is actually a net buff. But if you're hitting clumps, the AoE does more damage on average. If you're hitting direct, it will still be 15 plus 40, which is 55, instead of 25 plus 30, which is 55. So this is more forgiveness for missing. Your splash damage is more potent. Does that make sense? So this is a buff. These two are buffs when with the shift, okay? Now, no longer deals damage to self is a small buff, right? Obviously, like the small times he like shoots up against the wall and tickles himself. It never really did much, but that's something to consider. Now, a nerf with this is that because you're no longer doing damage to yourself, you can't boop yourself when you get knocked off the map, which is already kind of hard to do, but it's Overwatch tech. For those who aren't really nerdy with this game, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. If you get booped off the map by a Lucio or whatever, if you die from a boop, the Lucio or whoever booped you gets the kill credit and ultimate charge based on how much HP you had. So if you're a Sigma with 600 HP and the Lucio boops you, he gets 600 HP worth of ultimate charge, which is a lot. But a tech is that anybody with a knockback self damage could remove that kill credit and give 0 kill credit. So let's say if you're a Zarya and you get booped off the map, really easy to shoot your secondary fire, explosion off the wall, damage yourself, knock yourself back, and then Lucio doesn't get the kill credit, he gets no ult charge. It looks like you just eliminated yourself on the kill feed versus Lucio getting the kill. So with Sigma, if you happen to get booped off, you could do this tech as well and just quickly bounce a sphere off the wall and hit yourself and remove that. But now that's gone. Nobody, I would say 99.9% of the population doesn't know about that anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter there, but niche people who love nerdy things like that, remember, that's gone now, okay? For Sigma specifically. Another thing to note with Sigma, not in this patch note, well, not in here specifically, is down here. Sigma fixed an issue with gravitic flux percentage health damage being affected by damage reduction. This one's interesting because I never thought it was a bug. I thought it's intended that if you have damage reduction when you get fluxed, you don't take the 50% slap. So what this is saying is that when Sigma fluxes and slams someone, they lose 50% of their health always. But someone like Roadhog, who gets damage reduction when he takes a breather, could previously, when he gets slammed, he just vapes as he gets slammed on the ground by flux, and then actually doesn't take 50% HP. But now it does do true damage, or true 50% on it. So that's a buff for Sigma's gravitic flux, even though it's worded as a bug fix here. So a couple of good things for Sigma here. Bastion spread reduction for 2.2 to 2 degrees. That's a buff, means your bullets are tighter. Tighter means you're more accurate, and which is a buff for his form, and then his ultimate is cheaper. Like Bastion is probably not underperforming or overperforming. He's always been a niche hero. So, I mean, I think this is still good against like Winston and stuff, but I don't see him being like hard meta or anything. It's an interesting, whatever, it's a buff. Okay, Cassidy. So they're changing Cassidy's hinder duration, so it's less annoying, but it makes the explosion damage more. So he's really like a close range duelist. The explosion damage is kind of significant because you can now hinder headshot melee. Does that do enough? Yeah, it does. So someone up close, 75, 140 headshot, puts him at 215, and melees are 45 damage now. So it kills 250 HP heroes up close. So he's burstier, yeah, and melee's no longer 30. It's higher now since season 9. So that's it changes a specific breakpoint to help like burst somebody down, which is interesting. They make hinder less annoying for that. So that part's nerfed, damage buffed, cost of Deadeye is reduced as well. I think Cass is a pretty solid hit scan. He was just getting he has a better role when it's like a Doomfist ball meta where the hinder actually slows him down, but with D.Va, she usually eats his hinder, so he wasn't being played as much last patch, but I still think he's like a pretty solid medium range hit scan. His fall off range has been nerfed a bit for a while, so he's good on closer range maps, but it's hard to play him on like Junkertown, for example, first point when they're playing so far away. You noodle your shots past a certain distance, so he's a close range duelist. You don't want to homogenize all your hit scans, which is a good thing actually. So yeah, Hanzo, big Hanzo change here. They're giving his one shot back, so maximum damage is increased from 120 to 125. So a headshot does 250 again instead of 240, which changes a huge breakpoint for him. That's the biggest buff here. To compensate though, they are nerfing the global projectile size increase from season 9. So the arrows are skinnier, right? They're gonna be harder to hit, but he does one shot. So there's the threat of it, but the arrow is like half the size now, that's right. So it's not as forgiving. I don't like the wording of no longer affected by global size project. Why not just say normal arrows now have a size of X? I agree. That's a good point, Goblin. They should just tell us exactly how wide the projectile is. That would be very good. They should also have those numbers baked into the game client as an advanced stat sheet, dynamically changing whenever things get tweaked. This is the current live projectile size. I think that'd be amazing. Yeah, harder to hit, but more rewarding. Okay, and the time to charge your full bow for full tension for 250, the 125 takes a little bit longer. This actually, some people say it may not feel, this is whatever, but like, I think if you play a lot of Hanzo, you'll definitely notice this. It's kind of probably a little annoying. It takes a little bit to get used to, but yeah. This, for me, the threat of getting randomly like killed again across the map at 250 HPs, I don't love it as somebody who doesn't play Hanzo, but maybe the Hanzo players really wanted it again because like hasn't been performing that well, at least anecdotally, so we'll give him that for now. Venture actually getting a nerf with the shield health gain per ability reduced from 40 to 30. I low-key thought Venture was underrated last patch. Venture showing up and just one-shotting your team and then actually just burrowing and being super tanky and durable was actually pretty solid. So I actually don't hate this. I mean, Venture's already really hard to kill anyways because you have invulnerability with burrow. Things like May Ice Block and Reaper Wraith form, being able to survive and have that invulnerability ability while having high base HP was really strong last patch, still strong this patch, and Venture having burrow and getting all this extra shield health means they're like already naturally hard to kill, so this is fine. This is kind of a slap on the wrist. This one's whatever. Moira. This one's actually, nobody's really talking about this that much, but I actually think this is a crazy buff. This is not 15. What's 70 divided by 85? How do you do the math? What's the percentage DPS increase on this? How do I math this? It's not 15, it's like 20%. This is a big DPS increase for Coalescence. I actually think Coalescence is a very high tempo ultimate in a, we'll say for ease of purposes, a 20% DPS increase on Coalescence is nothing to scoff at. The only unfortunate thing is that Moira traditionally isn't played by a lot of heroes by a lot of players because she's a bit more boring and a lot of people won't pick her up unless she's like broken meta. This won't make her broken, but this is actually like pretty good for the Moira players who are playing her. And if you're able to like build a fast Cole, you can just go. Yeah, a little over 20%. For the East, for all intents and purposes, over 20% DPS increase. This is big. I think this one will be talked about a bit more. You didn't see much Moira last patch because there was so much D.Va being played, and D.Va eating all your orbs was super annoying to build that Cole. But if D.Va gets played a little less and there's more Ramatra Brawl, for example, because of the Ramatra armor bug, and you play like some weird cheesy stuff in ranked like Moira Juno, I don't hate it in ranked specifically. That actually might have a place where it's so annoying to play against. So watch out for that. This one might be a dark horse this patch with this change. Lifeweaver, I don't think, Lifeweaver got that big change at the beginning where he gets passive build up on his thing. Even though his ammo went up, I still don't see Lifeweaver being hard meta, but that being said, he's not terrible. I think he's like a low B tier. But just by design, him and Mercy are always going to be heroes that don't have quite a big swing in their win rates. They're probably pretty consistent around 48, 52, but they're very reactive heroes. They're not proactive. So you still have to like wait for something to happen before you life grip, before you Tree of Life, or before you know, Valk and whatever. Like they wait for somebody to die before you res. They're reactive heroes, which means their volatility is like this, but when you play high proactive supports like Kiriko and Ana with nano boost and things that like make you take the initiation, you have a higher impact to like probably win more games at maybe 55, but then you can also feed if you suck mechanically because they're a bit more demanding, 55, 45. So bigger standard deviation for proactive supports, and then a little squished, consistent, survivable, can have their place kind of role that Lifeweaver has. But his playstyle kind of lends itself to people who really like that, but a lot of people don't. So even with this change, he's not going to suddenly become hard meta and everybody starts playing him because he's just, by design, not that fun for a majority of players. And then finally for Zen, this one is actually kind of big. I like this. Maybe there's a place for Zen, but I think with Juno still being meta with like fast stuff, I don't see him. You can't really pick Zen unless they are not running any speed, in my opinion. If they're not, though, because not every game will have a Juno. You're going to run into the game with the Mercy Lifeweaver one-trick backline of the enemy team. No Tracer there. By all means, run your Zenyatta. But he's niche for a reason, because he has a very distinct weakness, and they are leaning into that glass cannon nature. So if the stars align, he can pop off where he's good. But if not, you will still die despite this damage buff. So damage increase from 48 to 50, you'd be like, wow, it's only 2 damage. But when you multiply it with Discord, it changes it so it's a 2 Discord and 2 headshots kills. Previously, and then Discord, 4 body shots kills 250 HP heroes. Before, you needed 5 shots. Now you only need 4. It changes the breakpoints. So this one's big. And then Discord orb, 7 to 6 seconds for you to pick a new target. So these are nice when the situation calls for it. I'll probably pick Zen here and there when I play ranked this week, when the time calls. Okay, Clash updates. Fast respawn after a point has been captured has been removed so that defenders can't get back as quick, but at the same time, the respawn times for defenders get reduced by 2 seconds instead for each segment the attacker secure in the final zone specifically. So it makes it so I guess there's not like a chance for the team to just quickly 5-0 and win the game in 2 minutes. There's a better chance for the defenders to at least grab, especially if they get a tick or 2, I assume. So that at least that last tick you really got to work for it to stop like the big swing. But they're looking to change more Clash because people, in general, I would say the sentiment around it is it's not great. Myself included, it is my least favorite mode. But I will say I like the fast games and fast natures of it, but it's so high variance that like I don't love it. 5-0s are still going to happen. We're trying to come up with better solutions. Yeah, that's what it is. I tried Clash today and it feels awful. We almost lost and the enemy team just capping their spawn point 3 times. Well, that's something to consider because each tick gives them a point as well. So if you get 2 ticks and you retake 2, if you retake 2 ticks, you get their whole entire spawn. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. They have to relook at Clash. My least favorite mode for now as well. Flashpoint, good quality of life change though. The speed boost lasts 2 seconds instead of 1, and it lasts a bit longer over time. So that's good for Flashpoint, nothing to say there. Bug fixes were the big ones I mentioned earlier, and that is the patch for mid-season 12. So let me know what you guys think. Play it out and give your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening to my opinions on this patch. And I'll play it out. Come to my stream, twitch.tv/KarQ. You can get your May flower legendary skin by watching 10 hours. Yeah, okay, peace, bye.